Hi, welcome back to whichever part this is. Possibly part 11, I think, possibly. Just getting ready to paint the rear end. This has been a pig to clean with all the little nooks and crannies. I am beginning to regret not steam cleaning it further before I pulled it apart. But I didn't, and I'm the one that's got to live with that. But I've gone over it with a wire brush, brake cleaner. I've got all the grease and muck out of all the studs. She'll be fine with a good coat of paint on her. I've had to remake one of the little breather pipes. I'll bring you in and show you what I've done. Okay, here's what we've done. I've cleaned out the brake chambers, but I can't put the brakes in yet until the brake rods are on. And the brake rods are waiting for paint. They're all cleaned up there. I've had to make a new little breather for the final drive cover. This is just a breather to let any build up of anything in here get into the diff housing, which I think has got, yeah, it has. It's got a breather there. The other side was fine. That is all ready for paint. Anyone that thinks it's not, well, it's my tractor and I say it is. So that'll do for me. If it hasn't come off with the wire brush at this stage, it's not coming off. I've got to wipe it all down with some degreaser before I throw some paint on it. And hang these bits up so I can paint them as well. I might do the two stays as well, but I might not today. I think I'm just going to get some paint on this rear end. I've cleaned the diff lock lever up as best I can. I'm not going crazy with this. They weren't like... It's a tractor. This isn't an exotic Jaguar. It's a Leyland tractor. That doesn't mean to say I don't want it good, but it hasn't got to be great. Well, it has got to be great. Great for a tractor. And it will be. So I'm going to get on and fire up the paint gun. If you look closely, I have painted the rear end of the tractor. It's had one coat. I've painted the brake control arms so I can get these put back in now, reassemble the brakes, put the brake end covers on, and I'll probably give it another coat because why not? It's all come out pretty good. And luckily, with the use of the old space heater, I've managed to get it to dry overnight because it is cold. Winter is upon us. So today's video, I'll show you a little bit of footage of me painting the back end. Same process as the front end. Lots of wire brushing, brake cleaner, degreaser. Just get it all cleaned up, get all the loose stuff off, get a coat of paint on it. It's actually come out very well. I'm very pleased. I was a bit concerned yesterday when I was painting it that it wasn't coming up as good as I would like, but I was wrong. It looks great. So today's video, we're going to sort out putting our brakes back in, getting our brake rods on. I've got some new little rubber boots for the brake rods. This is a bit annoying actually. You've got to put the rubber boot on this bar. Here's the rubber boot that come off. You've got to put these on the bar before you can put the bars in the tractor. So I'm going to have to somehow, I say try and mask these off. These are covered in blue paint, but I suspect that's not from the factory. Someone has attacked this with blue paint at some point in its life. But I'm going to have to put the rubber boots on, assemble the brakes, and I'll try and mask the boot off to the best of my ability for a second coat of paint on the rear end. Pardon me. And I'll probably do a second coat on the gearbox as well. The front end's had plenty. That doesn't need any more paint. Okay, the brake rods. These have these. This is the actuator that lives in the brake chamber. This is what activates the spreader plate. This literally goes in here and has 2 roll pins. Hold it in. That's all that you do for that. So I'm going to get those in. And then we've got to assemble the brake plates. We've got new brake discs for both sides. I've got new balls, although on inspecting, I'm not sure which side this is. I think this is the left side. There's actually nothing wrong with the balls, but we'll change them anyway. Now, how these brakes work is there's 4 ball bearings sandwiched between these 2 plates, and as you spread them, that actuator lives in there like that, and it literally spreads these, and they ride up on the ball bearings and get wider. And then your brake discs are sandwiched between this plate which goes in the back of the chamber and this plate which is on the cover. So you get 2 discs, your spreader plate in between, 1 rubs on there, 1 rubs on there. Super straightforward. Much easier to do the brakes on this tractor. I've only ever done the brakes on a B275, an International, and as memory serves me right, that was a beast of a job. I've also got put new thrust washers in the cover plates, and obviously the cover plates want wire brushing. That's why I'm going to give the axle a second coat, because obviously these need painting. So I'm going to assemble my spreader plates with new balls. It's important when you're playing with your old tractor to make sure you've got good balls. You don't want your balls getting worn. So get yourself some new balls and let's get it in. I'm gonna I'll sort all this out and I'll get you in close to the brake chamber and I'll show you me putting 1/2 in. I'm only going to film one of them. They're both the same, both sides. And yeah, then what else have we got to do? Loads. This has reached a bit of a bottleneck with the rear end because you've got to paint certain things before you can install them, and yeah, there's just a bit of to and fro in. And like I said, it's got cold here. It's freezing in here now. So whilst I have a bit of a tidy up to get to the brake chambers, I'm going to fire on my space heater and warm the place up a bit, and I'll bring you in and I'll show you us putting on new brakes. I'll see you shortly. Okay, let's fit the brakes in the brake chamber. Now, due to the magic of editing, you can't see that I put the wrong back plate in the other side. So I've had to quickly pull the other side apart to get the back plate in. The back friction plate, I believe it's called. It's held in with 2 clips that are very fiddly to get in. Well, fiddly enough anyway. What I do is squeeze them together like so, and that'll get the bottom one in, And the top one, we do the same. Pardon me, we do the same again. The bigger of the clips, I believe, goes on the lug in the housing. The smaller clip on the friction plate. So I'm going to try and get that in there. That failed. Oh, they really are a nightmare. I'll edit all this out so you won't see this, but okay, there's our top one in. Literally squeeze them together like that and you can kind of drop them in. That is our back friction plate. Then we have a disc. If I can get it over the splines. There we go. That is our disc. Then we have our expander. This bit goes on this lug here. This little bit is what this engages in, like so. So that goes in there. This has had new balls put in it. Like I mentioned before, make sure you've got good balls. Good balls is important if you want good brakes in your tractor. That friction disc goes there. Now I'm going to put the operating lever in. I've just got to make sure it lines up with the two holes for the split pins. The split pins hold this to the operating shaft. That bit will fall out like that. That's perfectly normal. I'll come back to that bit in a minute. Get our shaft in there. Friction plate on the top. This is our cover. They have these little thrust washers. I've got new ones each side. There's actually a little recess machined in this for that to sit in. And then it's got a little centre punch mark which just basically holds it in there. And that goes on there like so. And I haven't picked up any of the nuts. But I'm going to bolt that on. That is the brakes. Okay, brakes are in both sides. The brake actuating rods, whatever you want to call them, they're all in. I've masked up the rubber boots best I can because I don't want paint on them. Not that it matters, you can't see them when the tractor's together, but I know they're there, so I want them masked up. The brake covers are cleaned up. I'm going to give this another coat of paint right up to the bell housing because the gearbox has only had the one coat. The axles only had the one coat. The engine's had plenty, so we don't need to put any more on there. And then that is essentially the bones of the tractor is back together. And I've got to start painting all the assemblies, the brake pedals, brake rods. I'm going to ignore the 3-point linkage, which is down there, and all the arms. I'll do that at the end. The water pump back plate, I can't get a replacement until after Christmas, so I've welded that lug up because it was just all breaking apart. But that will work just fine. I think that's it for the moment. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, bye-bye.